Okay, on this video we're going to talk about how well YouTube ads basically convert. And are they truly worth it? This is a big question I get at our firm all the time. People ask me, Corey, how do I set up an actual video for YouTube ads to run on YouTube that will actually work? And or just, how does YouTube ads actually work? So I'm going to tell you the good and the bad about YouTube ads in general, how good they work, some different examples where we got the YouTube ads to work as well, and doesn't matter if it's for products or services, B2B, B2C, it all works the same if you are in the right situation that I'm going to describe on this video, where they do basically always work. So there's a very specific formula that I'm going to share with you here that if you're going to entertain YouTube ads, when you already haven't explored Google search ads and you haven't explored Facebook ads, generally that stuff works easier if you're just getting started. But in some cases, the YouTube ads will work better than either of those if you fall into this category that I'm giving you here. So in other words, if you fall into this category, you should use it sooner than later, or it will generally work, whereas if you're not, much, much harder to get it to work. And it's very easy to be able to determine if you fit in this category or not, and just based upon what you're selling and how it fixes your market's problem. So anyway, I am going to get into it and explain give a background quick first, and then how this strategy works, who it applies to and where it will work, and then some different companies where it worked and their results that we got there on their campaign. So anyway, let's get into it. So the first thing I mentioned here, just right off the top, the average view, what you're paying for a view, a YouTube, your video ad show. I'm talking about the in-stream ads, where you have, basically the ads that play on YouTube videos as you're watching YouTube videos, and then the ad pops up and then you have to click skip. That's specifically what I'm talking about on today's video. But if somebody clicks on the skip button, if you were wondering, you do not pay for that. About a third of the people click skip. The other 2/3 don't. Respectively, the average view, I think it's a third, by the way. Sorry if it slips my memory. It might be a third or 2/3, but respectively, a lot less people click skip basically than you think. I believe it was 1/3 of the only click the skip button. Why? Because people sit on YouTube and they're too lazy to get up and click the skip button, or they're walking around. So a lot of, different situations where they won't click the skip button. But basically, either way, if they click skip, that does not affect the rate in which they click skip, doesn't affect you at all. It will vary, video to video and market to market, but that in and itself, if they click skip at a higher rate than somebody else, it will not affect your ROI or how much you're paying. But when you do actually have someone get past where they don't skip it, it's 5 cents per view or to $1 per view, what you're paying. You're going to pay $1 per view if you're something in like the most expensive markets where advertising's bid up the most, insurance. Whereas if you're down in stuff like, basically there's no competition and the lifetime value of a customer ultimately is low, because that's where the cheaper advertising comes with stuff where there's not that much value to be derived, then you're paying closer to the 5 cent range, which basically could be anything. You could sell widgets that nobody else sells, and then those videos are just for geeks and nobody really watches those videos. Might be 5 cents a view. Respectively, most of the time, it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Like, most of the people are going to be 10 cents a view, something like that. If you get into stuff a little bit more competitive, 30, 40 cents a view. Rarely ever it's $1 a view, unless you're like I said, insurance, some of the stuff that's just extremely expensive. That would be like $50 a click if they were doing Google search ads. Anyway, the biggest factors that determine if your YouTube ads work: the targeting, which videos they're showing up on, and the creative in which the video that you have. A lot of people will try to take a video they already have and then use that as a video ad. That's not generally going to work. It's just like if you decided to run infomercials on TV, and I'm just going to take any old video, I'm going to put it on TV and hope it works. Like, it's not, you've got to create the video for the purpose. there's a quick formula I'm going to give you that you can easily follow this, so you don't have to be a genius about doing video creative, but you have to follow a strategy. And there needs to be a big problem that you solve with your product or service in the first place. If you're just selling electrical services and you're doing that locally and you can't tell me why it's 10 times better than anything else, then YouTube ads are not for you. That's like really the determiner of whether or not you should be using YouTube ads for sure, or maybe, or or probably not. Because basically what YouTube allows you to do is it allows you to interrupt somebody who's already looking for a solution. It's still, at the end of the day, it's a how-to tutorial platform. People are looking for information on how to do things. So it's the perfect place to be if you're fixing someone's problem. Now, as far as the problems that you could fix, it's just like in business. You can either be first or you can be better, whatever. You can't just be, I'm not first, but it's the same as everybody else's. If you're doing that, by the way, I recommend, unless you're not a millionaire already, just get into something else. It's easier. And you've got to be able to be specific about who exactly that customer is and how exactly what problem they're having, and how that problem is relevant to a lot of people, and how your product is going to solve exactly that problem so that you can match that person with problem to your solution one-to-one. That's what this is all about. So how should a YouTube campaign be structured if you expect decent results here? So there's just a 4-step process that I'm going to have that you can use basically every time if you have a problem that's a product or service that's going to solve a big problem, like I said. The first step in which you're going to handpick videos or channels that are dedicated to solving the exact problem your product or service solves. So if you sell, Atkins diet or food products that people eat on an Atkins diet, basically no carbs, that kind of thing, and you got to be able to understand what it does. You can't just say it does. It's just for people for Atkins. No, what is it doing that's 10 times better than anybody else? It doesn't have to be on all categories, but one specifically that you can name. I'll give you an example. Most of the products they don't taste that good to the people who buy them. So, respectively, you could find videos that are like, how do I find a good tasting Atkins food alternative? Something like that. Now that gets specific enough to where you're on the right track there. Depending, respectively, what you're going to try to do is find 50 to 100 videos like that you're hand-picking. You're going to make a list of the URLs, okay? So your product solves the problem that people are looking for on those videos specifically already, and nothing else besides that. It could be a whole channel that's dedicated to it, and you can just put the whole channel on your list too. Second, make a specialized dedicated video that solves that problem. So this is the hard part. Anybody can find the videos respectively, hand-pick them. It takes you a couple hours. The video, it takes some creative skill that I will admit to make a video. In terms of, of course, you may not be super creative, but I've got a formula here that I'm going to give you that if you follow it, it will work, but sometimes it might be a little difficult. And then you can just take this formula and just give it to your video guy and have them do it. But basically, here there's a flow that the video script that I use that routinely just works, okay? So if you don't want to reinvent the wheel, and you just probably 90% of the time it will work, just use my formula. Not to say this is the only formula, this is just the one that I routinely use and tell our clients. We don't make video commercials for our clients, because that's essentially what this is. Tell them and then they do it, and sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. So first of all, this whole video is about 90 seconds in length. They're going to try to compile all this I give you into one little 90-second video. You're going to ask a question at the start of the video. So for the Atkins food product that I gave you before, you're going to say, are you tired of crappy tasting Atkins food products? Question mark. Like you're asking it as a question. The reason why Atkins food products, taste bad is because the companies that make them, and the few companies that do make them for people, because they have alternative breads and stuff that you can eat that taste like bread, but really it's not. So it's good for people in that market. This is an example here. that I'm giving you, that the reason why they don't taste good is because they don't actually have focus groups to test out these products. They're just making the product off of some random recipe, and they don't actually go and put any work into perfecting the products so that they have wide scale appeal for their users. And then so then you got your question, and then you talk about you're basically trying to make them think what they should already be thinking, or get them thinking like the way that you want them to think, so that when you come with the next part, they're already primed for your sales pitch already. So the next step is you talk about how your company solves the problem. So once they understand why all the products suck, and basically you've eliminated all the other competition or options for them at that point, including the video that they were watching, that now they're on your ad watching your video versus the video they were on, you're going to talk about why your company solves the product. Why specifically it's different, or should I say what's specifically different about it. And then going back to my previous example for the Atkins food products, diet products, that we regularly do hold focus groups that test our Atkins products that are on the Atkins diet. And we take feedback, and we're constantly in the mood to improve the products, just like big food companies do when they make their brand name products. We have research. We have a research facility here that actually then actually figures out how to make these products without putting chemicals in it, but just through finding different blends. And then we go out there and we go to the customer, we get the feedback, and then we reiterate. And we've been doing this for 10 years now, so we've gotten very, very good at what we do. And for the most part, 80% of people who try our products agree that we send them out to like them and keep going with the program. We have high retention as a result. And so what's specifically different? You have these focus groups, but then you're also going to say how you specifically execute on that. So it's different because we have the focus groups, and we execute on that because we invest a good chunk of the money that we make to have these focus groups, and we have a research lab versus our competitors who don't have it. And we do not stop improving because we keep regularly reinvesting into the research lab that we have, and keep using focus groups to continually keep improving. So now they know why the products out there, all other ones suck, and what you're going to do that makes it different, and that you have that different. Then you're going to go into the call to action, which would be always learn more. People think that the video can do everything. No, you only got so much time to gain their attention, and then you got to get them to some place else where you're going to have to continue talking to them. So I go always with learn more as the call to action, because YouTube lets you choose. Then go to a long sales page where you're going to go through that whole thing. You're going to show a picture of your research laboratory there, and then you're going to show something about your focus groups. Then you're going to start getting into what the products are like. We have all these different products. We have this and this and this and this and this. And then you go into showing how you have no chemicals, and then you go into how your packaging and your methods of delivery is good. And then you at the very, very, very bottom of the page, then you can go to see pricing. Then that can go onto an actual product page. But you have to have that intermediary page, or your funnel is not going to convert well. And so a lot of people don't do this, or they fail because they don't want to make the video and the landing page both, because you need really both. This is how you turn a totally cold user into a customer. So you go to that long sales page after learn more, and then you got your conversion after that. At the bottom of the sales page, then goes to another page that has like the ordering stuff on it. But you don't do the ordering page on the page that you take them to. On the landing page, you start talking more about what you said on the video. You don't go right away for a sale. So they get a reason. So you get the rest of the message out to them, and then you start slowly transitioning them into the sale. Now, I know you might be saying, Corey, this is for a product. It's great to have a service. Well, for a service, it's the same thing. We've done things like for instance, a company had websites anymore are supposed to be, they work for people that are disabled, blind, or hearing impaired, and technically your website's supposed to have that. And so people will find out about that at some point, knowing that they need to do it after they've had a website for a while. Then they get on YouTube, kind of how to do this, inexpensively in the right way. And then they had a video that was basically saying, hey, do you need your site to be upgraded with this ADA compliance? Yes. Mentally, you're thinking yes. Does it seem like it's really expensive? Yes. Is it really expensive? And are you unsure what you actually need to do to make it actually 100%, ironclad, bulletproof, so you won't get sued at the same time? So basically, get the job done for the minimal cost. Yes. Then you get into, we are the only company. You're trying to say you have to be the only one. Otherwise, they're just going to go back to YouTube and search for somebody else, or on Google. We are the only ones that combine technology and consulting together to get you the lowest cost ADA compliance for your website possible out of all the other solutions out there. And then you could say, you're supposed to talk about the current solution. I forgot to mention. So after you say it's, you need the ADA compliance website, does it seem expensive? Yes. Most people out there that offer a solution, they either use software or they use a company. Companies cost a lot. The software is cheap, but it's not bulletproof. And then you get into, we're the only company that offers a software product that does most of the heavy lifting, paired with consulting together, so you get the lowest priced solution possible, and also that's going to be 100% legal compliant at the same time. So the cheapest and easiest and best option for you. And then so that goes into what's specifically different about it and how you're supposed to execute on that. And then you go to the landing page, which explains that further. Then you go to and you capture the lead, and then you talk to them on the phone, and then you go for a sale. But you can advertise something like that on a video where it just talks about ADA compliance for a website. How to do ADA compliance for a website. So then you're going to have that show up. Are you trying to get ADA compliance? Yes. Most people, they have a problem because it's too expensive for them, or they use cheap products that are not right, and then they end up getting sued anyway. We actually compare software with the consulting to get you the cheapest solution, but with 100% accuracy, and we do that for the client, and like I said before. So you get the whole idea how this funnel works. You can make it for anything. As long as you can define exactly what the customer's problem is, and that there's videos out there that seek to solve the problem, either directly or it could be even indirectly, like I'm going to show here in a minute, you can actually make a YouTube video that should be profitable. You just have to be able to make the video tailored to that exact problem, and you got to be able to have a good landing page after it. But still, that's the formula that's worked time and time again for us, and you can do for yourself. So you got to make a video, got to make a landing page to make it work, but it will work if you execute on it, and it will work for, again, products or services, or for B2B, business-to-business sales, or direct-to-consumer sales, doesn't matter. The next step is you just set up your campaign. So you got to pass the hard part, which is the video and the landing page. Set up a campaign, video ads campaign. Do the in-stream is what the ad type you're going to pick, so that you have the video, then the skip button, so you can show up and you're actually talking to somebody who has that problem that you're looking for to solve. Absolutely. And you're going to set it up to max conversions as a optimization type. Or you're going to do, if the ads do not, if your videos are not gaining impressions in 3 days, switch to cost per 1,000. That'll make sure you get your ad shown on the exact videos you want, the 50 or 100 that you know for sure you have to get on. That's just a small trick. And then also, before you launch your campaign, eliminate unnecessary demographics. So if you know that 18 to 25 demographic is basically a waste, which YouTube has a lot of, make sure as you set the campaign up, just eliminate that one. For the most part, there'll be 1 or 2 or 3. You could be gender or age demographic, and you can take out the ones that you don't. They're like 90% are not going to have your customer base in it. Just eliminate those right from the get-go. And then the last step is to narrow videos to target the top 10 to 20% of the videos you had before. So what you're looking for once you've all done this, you'll know the video that you're advertising your video on is going to work if the click-through rate on the people who don't click skip when your ad shows up, if you get 2% to click through to your landing page, the video that you're advertising on itself is a good video. In other words, your message is matched to your market, which is basically somebody who needs your solution, and so you got your ad in the right place then, because the click-through rate on your ad will vary how much you're paying for a lead or a sale, because you're basically paying per time the ad shows up, even though they don't technically price it that way when you're paying for max conversions or even target CPA bidding type, which is another option to set up a YouTube campaign with. Ultimately, if you get a low click-through rate, the cost per view is just going to go up. They're directly related there. But a lot of the click-through rate, more than half of the click-through rate you get, assuming you don't have a garbage video and you set it up the way that I mentioned here to do your advertisement with, and your video here, then over half of the equation, whether or not you get the click-through rate up past 2%, to have a strong possibility of making your YouTube campaign work, is if the video that you're on is the right video. So ultimately, though, long story short, if you have 50 to 100 videos you're advertising on that you handpicked starting out, you'll probably have 10 to 20% of those, or 5 to 10, which you got 2% or higher click-through rates. So you're going to narrow everything down to that after you've ran the ad you've spent, couple $1,000s of advertising on it. Then those 10 to 20% of videos that you're left with, those are probably money. You probably are going to make consistent money from those videos forever on at that point, for years and years and years. So with all the trouble this is to set up, you can make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of revenue from this over the next 5, potentially 10 years by doing it, and doing it the way that I described, which is the correct way to think about it. So anyway, if you targeted a whole channel, by the way, you should break, and you found the channel works, it's in your top 10 to 20% of targets there, break it down so that all the videos in that channel are listed as individual placements you want to target with your video ad. And that way you can then ultimately find, because there will be a few videos inside the videos in that channel which don't work, and then you can go in over time and just pause those videos out. And then the last thing to mention is as far as this whole setup goes, is the remarketing. So frequency is never as important as reach when you're talking about doing any advertising. So I always invest 10 to 20% of all my advertising spend on PPC, regardless of what I'm doing in remarketing, and this video advertising is no different. If you have the videos targeted right, a lot of times it just really won't be that perfect time for them to buy, even if you've done everything right, because they got to wait to get paid, they got to talk to their wife, whatever. And they won't, even though they intend to come back, they won't remember it if you don't remarket to them. So I'm going to remarket that video to the same person on YouTube again when they're watching other videos. I'm also going to advertise on the Google Display Network using banner ads. So if they're not on YouTube again and they're on CNN.com, they'll see my banner ad driving them back to our landing page from this first step. So you got to do that as well if you want to have good returns respectively and be able to count on that. But if you do all that, you should be able to get returns like this. So again, it's not for everybody. You got to have a big problem that you're solving, and there's got to be videos on YouTube that have people that have not that exact problem, but close. The closer the problem is to what you solve, the better the campaign will work, basically speaking. And the farther away you get, the less likely it will be to work. But I'll explain several different examples here that will go through and give you an idea of how close the video that you're advertising on needs to be for everything to work. So the first one is a custom mailbox company. We advertise on videos that talk about how to secure a mailbox. Package theft is big. they actually had a mailbox solution that was good for anti-theft. And so they were just advertising on people looking how to mailboxes that have good security features, that kind of thing, or just how to secure your mailbox in general as well, both of them actually, from package theft. And with the cost per lead from that, in terms of, because they were generating leads, it was an expensive mailbox solution, custom mailbox solution they were selling. It was $7.58 per lead and an ROI of 3,249%. Why? Because this is a big problem. There's like basically no solutions out there in the market. And the videos where they're actually looking for a mailbox that they can buy that is good, that will lock, that's as relevant as you can for advertising a mailbox that locks. So if you're as lucky as somebody looking on YouTube for your product on how to find a product that does exactly what your product does, and you're basically the only one that's doing it, you can get a 3,000% ROI easily on your campaign by doing the way that I talked, things I talked about on this video here, okay? So, but you don't have to be that relevant. Like I said, we also set some videos out for people who just wanted to know how to set up their mailbox so it locks itself. Not so much to prevent package theft, but how do I take a mailbox and make it more secure? That was the other thing we did. Both of those videos combined still got the 3,249% ROI, but you get the general idea there. That's pretty lucky for them. So anyway, if we get a little bit less targeted, we'll get into this company that offered fraud consulting. So if you have an e-commerce site, there's people that come in and try to use stolen credit cards to buy stuff on your site. So it's hard to tell whether or not you got a real customer or not, or if it's a fraud customer. So they have special software and AI that can detect people so that you'll know who's a fraud and who is not. That while the person's on the site, it analyzes the traffic, and as they put the orders through, we just targeted people that are already just looking for, how do I prevent fraud on my e-commerce site? So the exact problem again. So in a service capacity, that was as good as it's going to get, if you will, too. Any like consulting company, by the way, if somebody's looking for the problem that you solve, then you can't just say, well, you're looking for this, and we do this in the consulting space. Generally, you got to say, most companies, like I said before, part of your script has to say, most of the people that you hire out here don't do it right, but we do it right, and this is why we do it right, and this is how we do it right. But for the fraud consulting, it wasn't a real established space yet. Some competitors. In that case, it just worked to target people who were trying to prevent fraud. Not that I'm trying to hire a fraud company, which would be the best, and then instead of getting a 2,000% ROI, we would get a 3,000 plus potentially if they were actually looking for the right fraud monitoring product, which they're having problems, and you're going to offer them a product that fixes that one problem about the product itself that people have tried before and failed. But they had, for that product on those kind of videos, targeting people, the cloud AI software, as I talked about, $14.81 per lead and a 2,166% ROI. So not quite as great as the mailbox thing. Like I said, because ultimately in the mailbox situation, they were looking for a mailbox that just did what they did. So it was like directly relevant. This fraud consulting, they were looking to have a solution to a service that they offered. Service/product is really like a software product, software as a service. And so it had a little bit less ROI. Now what if we go a little bit less targeted even yet? We had a wedding planner who ran the YouTube campaigns. In that situation, we were targeting people looking for a wedding planner. So there's no problem per se. They just want to know how to hire a wedding planner. Now, how does this work? In this situation, I recommended to them all of these people use the same formula here. This is what I tell everybody now what to do because it works. Basically, for the wedding planner, the people, a lot of times the problem is they don't get a lot of selection and they're iffy as to, are they hiring a wedding planner who is going to be favorable to the vendors, and they're not going to have a lot of selection, and they're going to be biased, if you will. So they were saying that we have more connections basically in the entire city than anybody else in the space. And we give you many, many different examples of different wedding themes. So instead of just forcing you to a few options, you'll be able to have infinite options essentially. And you'll get to see from a data bank of different weddings to narrow things down. And we can deliver on that because we have 500 plus different vendors in the city that we have relationships with. And with that, we can basically do anything you want. So you don't have to compromise. And we accommodate at any price range as well. So on top of that. So that was basically the premise of the video of what the offer it was. Same formula again. $17.09 per lead, 985% ROI. This did not count in any kickbacks that person had. That was just for the cost of the service itself, for the wedding planner service. But so not as high of an ROI because it's not as targeted. We could be more than a 985% ROI if they were looking for how not to get ripped off by wedding planners, because that's more relevant, right? So that was my whole point here of what I'm trying to get across. And you'll know when YouTube ads will work based upon there being videos that are close enough to what you know you can solve better than anybody else there already. The last example is the one video about a video campaign that we had for somebody selling a golf aid product. It was basically I can't give away the exact product without giving away the campaign and the guy's results, but it was something that would basically help let you hit the golf ball better, right? Not too long, not too short, and then you're just targeting videos that talk about how do I actually use this product effectively so that I don't go too long or too short here. And so ultimately there was inherent flaws in the product itself that they were using. So on those videos, we had a video that showed up that said there's a secret to using this product, which is most of these products out there don't have the feature built in, but our product that we just came out with has this feature built in, and it takes care of the whole not hitting it long enough or not far enough or too far. And so with that's the whole funnel that worked there or was used there. And for that particular product, it's a few $100 product, $300 range product. $29.46 per lead, and then 1,164% ROI from that campaign. So the other main thing here that you can see here is, respectively, all the products that we were selling is over $100, and most of them even were over $1,000 lifetime value. Except for everything, all these first three were over $1,000 LTV lifetime value per customer coming in from this. And the golf product was a $300, $400 lifetime value product. So it's a little easier the higher the price of the product it is. But one thing, again, you have to keep in mind, if your product price is lower, well, the cost of the advertising is cheaper, and it might be 5 cents a view. So respectively, your cost per lead should go automatically down the less the product costs for the most part. So that may be a little different in your market, but that, as a general rule of thumb, that's the case. So don't be discouraged if you think that you can only have a product and get out of a customer $100, because I've seen campaigns that work that sell something for $100. $20 is a different story, but $100, it's still doable. Not every time, but if you think that you're fixing a major big problem here for somebody in your market, and there's enough of them, there are enough people on YouTube looking for it, I recommend you give it a shot. So. But anyway, that's everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a ton of other videos on this channel about different PPC money-making strategies. You should check those out. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with some different campaigns that I built for our clients that guarantee their results. If you want to see how to do things like I do for our clients here, you can check our information out there. And if you have any questions or comments, leave me a comment down below about anything I discussed here, or any questions about anything that you'd like to run on as far as a YouTube campaign coming up. Hope you enjoyed, and good luck to you on your new campaigns.